I was not under the influence nor frightened. Instead, my heart pounded, lips parted, and skin prickled as Calvin, my longtime friend's father, knelt behind me and murmured, "Let me help you." He was significantly older, previously married, now widowed. I had known him since adolescence. He would grill burgers for us during sleepovers and order pizzas when we were distraught over school issues. However, that night, I realized I had transgressed a boundary from which there was no return. Yet, the situation I found myself in was far from what I could have ever imagined. A favor that would reshape my life and rend my soul apart. As I delve into this complex narrative, I want to express gratitude to each of you who subscribe to this channel. Your support means more than words can convey. And for all our new and returning viewers yet to hit the subscribe button, why wait? That single click powers our space and keeps the stories coming. Your likes, shares, comments hold significant importance. Thus, feel free to voice your opinions in the comment area below, helping us cultivate this community collectively. Here's my tale. I am Kimberly. At 23, I found myself in an unexpected situation. Half undressed within the house of a man I never imagined betraying my friend for. It was during the time when I had dropped out of nursing school due to mounting tuition, bills, and the relentless desire to maintain an image of stability. Instead, I worked double shifts at a seedy diner on Highway 280 in Birmingham, Alabama. When not scrubbing grease off tables, I stayed at my friend Terry's residence. In contrast to me, Terry was self-assured, wild, and wealthy. Her father, Calvin, owned multiple car dealerships and a lakeside villa we had once secretly visited during our high school days. Calvin, with his armor-like suits, silver hair, and piercing eyes that seemed to see through you, was the epitome of a smooth talker. Calvin was typically reserved yet observant. Following Terry's death due to cancer, Calvin transformed, softening, bordering on fragility, but never succumbing to weakness. There was an inexplicable pull about him that drew you in, even during his silent moments. I vividly recall the moment he extended help to me for the first time. I was weeping on the back porch over a notice from my landlord, with Terry inside listening to music through her headphones. Calvin emerged with a beer, noticing my distressed expression, and took a seat beside me. "You're drowning, Kimberly," he said. "I'll throw you a lifeline." That month, he covered my rent expenses. The following months were no exception. He gifted me a used car from his dealership lot. Later, he assisted me in securing a better job at the reception desk of his office. This marked the start of his assistance, but favors from individuals like Calvin seldom arrive without complications. One evening, after office hours, I was in his study dealing with paperwork when I accidentally lost my pen. As I bent over to retrieve it, I straightened up to find him behind me, his breath whispering against the back of my neck. "You're lovely, Kimberly," he remarked. I stood still. It was the first time he had ever spoken such words. I should have responded. I should have acted. Instead, I knew something ominous was approaching, something sinister, something that would make me doubt if I possessed control at all. If only I could relay to you that it occurred just once. That night of vulnerability concluded in shame, and I departed unharmed. But alas, I returned to his embrace again. Repeatedly, and repeatedly. The subsequent day, Calvin messaged me, "Visit the lake house. Just us." I was oblivious. She assumed her father was simply aiding my recovery, even joking about how I was like another daughter to him. Initially, the secrecy added to the excitement. The risk, the deception, the remorse. I wore it all as if it were perfume. Calvin informed me that I was exceptional, that I resurrected his life after losing his wife, that I made him feel manly, rather than just a grieving father. I trusted him. I wanted to trust him, but over time, he transformed into someone possessive and controlling. He became obsessed with knowing who I was communicating with, where I went, and disliked me being near Terry anymore. "Keep your distance," he said one evening, and I initially thought it was just paranoia. However, Terry questioned why I had stopped attending our girls' nights. She commented that my behavior seemed strange, like I was hiding something, and asked if I was seeing someone. I lied, claiming I was simply concentrating on school and work, tired, and had no time for men. She chuckled and hugged me, jokingly suggesting I wasn't sleeping with her father or something. My heart nearly stopped at that moment, as she had no idea about my secret relationship with him. The guilt surged up in my throat like bile, but I didn't confess. That night, I told Calvin we needed to slow things down, and his response was frosty. "After everything I have done for you, after all I provided you," he said in a low voice, as if the threat hidden within his words was wrapped in silk. I retrieved a diamond bracelet from my pocket, placed it around Kimberly's wrist, and warned her, "You won't leave me, Kimberly." She remained, despite the inner compulsion to flee. The night arrived, and everything teetered on the edge of collapse. Terry invited Kimberly for dinner, a trio affair. It had been weeks since I last saw Terry. Calvin advised against my visit, but I knew prolonged avoidance would raise suspicion. Trembling lips, I entered, filled with apprehension. There was Calvin, seated at the head of the table, treating me as another guest. My fork clattered to the floor when I finally could no longer hold it. Terry chatted about a co-worker she met, chuckling, unaware of my turmoil. Then she asked the fateful question. "Dad, don't you remember the night Kimberly helped you with paperwork? You had worked quite late that day. What were those documents for again?" My mouth went dry, and Calvin replied casually, "Just bills and tax papers." He then stared at me, his eyes dark, jaw clenched, as if challenging me to respond. I gave a brief nod and managed a faint smile, but my deceit felt precarious. One more query, one careless word, one telling glance, and it would all implode. 2 weeks later, everything collapsed. All I experienced was an emptiness despite the power, desire, and longing. Calvin was in another room. It was simply another day in a reality that wouldn't exist beyond those walls. I was moments away from confessing that I couldn't continue this charade, but my phone vibrated. A text from Terry arrived. "We need to talk. Immediately." I scrutinized the screen, my hands shaking. Before I could reply, she spoke again, her voice quivering. I peeked through my father's phone and saw the messages, hotel receipts, photos. "You were in his bed, Kim. You were in my father's bed." A pause. My mouth gaped, but no words emerged. There was no defense, no falsehood, no flimsy explanation. Only the unvarnished truth, brutal, stark, laid bare. "I trusted you," she murmured. "You were my friend, my confidant, my sister. You were sleeping with my father without telling me, which led to our last conversation." She blocked my number and posted a mysterious tweet that ignited discussions among our mutual friends. The chatter escalated from whispers to screenshots, turning secrets into judgment. I lost friends, jobs, and the one person who made me feel at home. And Calvin? He shifted away like a politician dealing with a scandal. He claimed we needed space, that he had to protect his reputation, and advised me to lay low. The money, gifts, invitations, and visits ceased. There was no more lake house or whispered promises in the dark. He took advantage of me, and I let him, not because I was feeble, but because I craved comfort, validation, and love I didn't receive elsewhere. I misinterpreted attention as care and mistook desire for affection. By the time I recognized the difference, it was too late. A month later, I found myself back at rock bottom, working again at the diner, struggling to earn tips. I had no degree, no close friend, and no romantic partner, just a deep sense of shame. However, something within me shifted. Instead of being consumed by shame, I transformed it into motivation. I paid for my education out of pocket. I sought therapy. I found healing. I began sharing my story not as a victim, but as a woman who had learned the hard way that some help comes with hidden costs. I never fully blamed Calvin, but I did blame myself for staying when I should have left, for choosing silence when I should have spoken up, for sacrificing sisterhood for the touch of a man who saw me only as an escape from his own sorrow. From this experience, I learned 3 things. First, if someone tries to rescue you in secret, ensure it is not your soul they are taking. Second, if someone gives you everything but demands your silence, reconsider what you're truly giving up. Lastly, never betray the one person who would have stood by you through anything. The expense of succumbing to desire pales in comparison to the value of preserving your identity. Thanks for tuning in. Now it's your turn to share your viewpoint. Write a comment with your thoughts. Are you of the opinion that I erred initially? Did Calvin deliberately make the choices he did? Let's engage in discussion in the comments. Don't forget to like, spread the word, and click subscribe if you haven't already. Your backing sustains this channel and ensures these narratives continue. See you soon. Stay authentic.